Hey there, and welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast. We're fueled by the incredible clients who inspire us every day, allowing us to elevate their health and fitness journeys. On this show, you'll gain valuable insights from top professionals, hear inspiring transformation stories, and discover the knowledge and motivation to create your own best life. Let's dive in. As someone who has continuously used therapy as a way to heal and elevate my personal performance, I know wholeheartedly that you cannot always read the label when you're in the jar. And that's why it's so helpful to have a professional in your corner to talk to. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp to provide our listeners with the opportunity to work with a licensed therapist from the comfort of your own home. Receive 10% off your first month when you sign up by going to betterhelp.com/TFL. That's betterhelp.com/T as in think, F as in fitness, L as in life. And remember, you're not alone. There are people out there who can help.
All right. Welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast. Today, we're going to dive into some nutrition. What people are missing out on the biggest from a nutritional standpoint. And the same exact thing is the absolute hardest from a nutritional standpoint. We're going to get to that. We're going to talk about training with scoliosis, how to manage someone who has scoliosis or scoliosis tendencies, because we do all have certain degrees of scoliosis in the human body. And this is going to be a hard one to hear, hard thing for people to be able to do. Everyone's heard that protein is the king. Protein, protein, protein. We've had episodes where we've talked about protein. I've talked about protein, the importance of it, and how much to get of it. But what people don't realize is I think they hear, oh, this is how much you're supposed to eat. This is how much you're supposed to get. But they don't actually know and realize how much that actually is. When we talk about protein, the recommended daily amount, which is the lowest you want to go, is 0.8 grams per kilogram. What we look for in just in general recommendations for human is 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilograms on average. Now, this can be a lot higher if you're an athlete or endurance athlete or weight training, strength training, whatever your goals, that can go higher. By all means, I go higher than that. You've also probably heard coaches talk about, I've talked about 1 gram per body pound. Now, the hardest thing is going kilograms to grams to kilograms to pounds, because here in the US, we use pounds. When people start talking kilograms, well, I really don't know how much I weigh in kilograms, which is totally fair. And if you want to figure out how much you weigh in kilograms, just take your body weight, divide it by 2.2, and you have your kilograms. But if you don't want to do that and don't want to spend the time doing that, which is understandable, we need to now start talking about grams per pound, because that's the relative number that the person, you or I, is going to reference. Understanding that is key. When we talk about pounds, we want to get 1 gram per pound of body weight, which means you're eating a lot of protein throughout the day. That's where people really get stuck on it. Is they understand that they need to eat protein, but they also start to realize that, oh my gosh, I need to eat a lot more protein than I've been eating. And that is going to come, that's going to be a benefit, but it also can be a struggle. Where it will be a struggle is if you're not used to eating that much. Because if you take your average person and you tell them to eat their body weight in protein, they're going to be probably most likely over 120 grams of protein per day. What that will look from a standpoint of how much protein I have to eat, a chicken breast is 30 grams. 120, you'd have to eat 4 chicken breasts a day to get to that. This is where people start to get into the holy smokes, that's a lot. And yes, it is a lot. I'm not going to lie. to be able to get the amount of protein your body needs, you really need to become protein-centric minded. It's all about protein. When you look at your plate for dinner, lunch, breakfast, how can you maximize protein? That's where I start a lot of my coaching. That's how I operate. For me, is how much protein can I maximize on this plate? The benefit of this, and why many coaches, why we're telling people to get a gram per pound, is to drive good eating behavior. Yes, it's also to get protein in for metabolic purposes and all that stuff, but it's to drive eating good food, aka protein and fruits and veggies, and being able to cut out other food. Because when you start to focus on, I need to eat X amount of protein, that's all you're going to be eating. You're probably not going to have room for a lot of other food. It is going to be protein, 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 some carbohydrates, some fats and veggies, but it's mainly going to come from protein. Even the fats are going to come from protein. You kind of get that all encompassed in a meal. People panic because if you're north of 150 pounds, that's a lot of protein you got to eat. You got to start getting that in. Where this is going to start to change, you're going to start to look at the holy smokes. And it should be a gut check, kind of a check to see, what are you doing now from a standpoint of what you're eating? Because protein doesn't have a lot of calories, 4 calories per gram. It's not going to be, if I eat 150 grams of protein, all of a sudden you're taking in mass amounts of calories. No, if you eat 150 grams of protein, it's 600 calories. It's not that much. It might seem much, but it's really not. And people think, if you are counting calories, that's a lot of calories from protein. In reality, it's not going to be much, depending on your activity level. Even if you were crazy, if you were eating 220 grams or plus of protein, for me, usually at 225 to 240, that's 900 calories. That's 900 calories from protein alone. If your daily caloric allowance is, say, 16 to 1800, you still have 900 calories to play with. And the best part is, because you've eaten all that protein, you're going to be more satiated. You're not going to feel, I'm still hungry, I need to eat more. You're not going to be eating processed crap that's just calories on calories. A lot of people, to make themselves feel full, need to have more calories from processed food. We've talked about the protein leverage hypothesis. It's an increase. You're going to get 12 to 15% more caloric intake if you don't match the protein. That's huge. But you're going to eat it from foods that are palatable. You're going to be able to eat a lot of, and it's just going to add up in calories. That's the importance. So really focus on driving the protein. And it's hard. It is hard to get a reference. And I don't want to talk a lot of science, because we've already talked about what to do. People know what to do. It's about understanding the protein, where the protein's coming from, what that looks like, and how much is in it, because a lot of people don't really understand how much protein is in what. And that's fair, because that's not their world. For me, it's simple, because this is what I do. I've studied nutrition. Really, it's a very simple thing for me to understand, because I've been looking at food for my whole career and been doing this a long time. I can add up protein really quick in my head. If someone comes to me and they say, hey, I've had this, this, and this, I can really maximize and try to get a rough estimate of how much protein they've had. What I count as protein is, we're talking meat, any kind of meat, beef, chicken, fish, steak, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, eggs, and protein shakes. If it's not in that realm, I really don't count that protein. I'm not personally counting protein that is coming from chickpeas. I'm not counting protein that comes from nut butter, because that's more fat than protein. I'm not counting that stuff. Yes, you're going to get the protein in, but is it really quality protein? No, I'm not going to count that stuff. And then